New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure y'all sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. I'm gonna change our old link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the YouTube caption, depending on where you're watching this from. Now check this out. In this past weekend, they actually had the G7 summit in Paris, France, and Barrière, France, where leaders from the 7 most powerful countries in the world met together to discuss some policies. Sound like some New World Order shit, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, you see the shirt. I'm the streets reporter of this shit. I'm gonna let y'all know what's happening. But check this out. They pulled together though $20 million to actually put towards the burning Amazon rainforest out there in Brazil. I just hope it don't go to the people that was trying to burn it in the first place, make a way for agribusiness and mining and logging and cattle grazing and whatever. Other highlights of the joint though, keep in mind there were people protesting constantly outside against these countries' dealings with big corporations and neglect on climate change and inequality. But Trump did tout that he made this deal with China through Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, where they agreed to buy a lot of U.S. farm goods and corn and all of that, but that still has to be worked out. They're hoping they could close it next month. Trump was also trying to get Russia into the back into the G7, or which used to be the Group of 8, until Russia was actually kicked out due to their annexation of Crimea back in 2014. Another highlight, the foreign minister, the top diplomat for Iran, Javad Zarif, actually popped up and had to sit down with European officials. So, you know, amid these tensions with the U.S., that was actually a big deal. Took a twit pic and everything, man. Green War and Graduation Party New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition too. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. I'm gonna change that old link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the YouTube caption, depending on where you're watching it. Now, this past Friday, China actually made an announcement that they were going to retaliate against the U.S. for their tariffs on them by raising taxes on American products. Now, in retaliation, Trump took to Twitter, hence why I have this petition, because this shit is dangerous, like shaking the economy, shaking shit. Basically saying that he was going to raise the current tariffs that are on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods. He was gonna raise that to 30%, while putting taxes on another $300 billion of Chinese goods, which he has already been talking about, but he was talking about it at 10%, but this time he was talking about 15%. He also said that he would stop U.S. companies from doing deals with China and would pull U.S. companies out of China. Like, we'll see what happens though. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. I'm gonna change that old link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the YouTube caption, depending on where you're watching it. You feel me? Now check this out. In Brazil, they actually have been a lot of outrage due to the fires that have been catching on into the Amazon rainforest, and it's actually even crawled into Brazil, devastating large swaths of land over there. President Evo Morales actually said that he's willing to accept international aid to combat these fires. But back in Brazil, the president Jair Bolsonaro actually has ordered military to actually combat the fires in 7 different states in Brazil. This combating of the fire actually looks like military planes dropping thousands of gallons of water on top of the fire, and that's been going on since Sunday and all of that. So we'll see what happens, because people are upset with him. They feel like he's not doing enough, and not to mention that he came into the presidency trying to promote deforestation to make way for agribusiness. So, you know, it seems like a conflict of interest there. Keep in mind that it said that the Amazon makes up for 20% of the world's oxygen. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. I'm gonna change that old link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the YouTube video caption if you're watching on that platform. Now check this out. In Hong Kong, for the 12th consecutive week, people have been protesting. Pro-democracy protesters hit the streets. This time on Sunday, it was actually in the Suan Wan district, where officers had showed their guns for the first time, letting off a warning shot, throwing tear gas, and letting off a water cannon for the first time. So it got pretty violent. 36 people arrested, including the 12-year-old. On Saturday, there were like 29 people arrested. But actually on Friday, it was a peaceful protest where people were holding hands across miles of Hong Kong streets, getting the idea from the Baltic Way protest that took place 30 years ago, where millions, like 2 million people from across 3 Baltic states actually held hands in protest to end Soviet rule. But chief executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, says that she's vowed to like open up a platform for dialogue, but nobody has met the demands of the pro-democracy protesters. So it sounded like poppycock. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, this all started from the extradition bill, and that still hasn't been removed. It's just been suspended. Green Wall and Graduation. The new world door to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link on my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video caption if you're watching on YouTube. Now, this past weekend, yo, where the fuck is Jared Kushner? Isn't he supposed to be over this Middle Eastern peace plan? Because right now the Middle East is buck wild, as it has been. But yo, this past weekend there were actually attacks in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, all that Iranian-backed forces. Now, these attacks were actually blamed on Israel, but Israel only took responsibility for the attack that happened Saturday night in Syria. And they said that the base that they attacked, they were actually planning on launching drone strikes against Israel. So that was their excuse. But and keep in mind, in Beirut, there were actually 2 drones that crashed. And now Hezbollah is saying that, you know, they're vowing to retaliate against any other attacks. You know what I mean? No matter who the fuck attacking them. So we'll see how this pans out. But Jared Kushner, man, your Middle East peace plan is garbage, man. You gotta make a move on that shit. We know it's fake, but you know, just to hold you politically accountable, you dig? Green Wall and Grad. Go to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video caption if you're watching on YouTube. Now, 350 migrants were actually allowed to disembark off of the rescue ship Ocean Viking in Malta, actually. Now, this goes after 2 weeks of a standoff in this Ocean Viking ship being stranded out in the Mediterranean Sea after Italy and Malta were refusing to allow them the entry. But on Friday, Malta allowed them in, and you know, 6 other European countries had actually agreed to have them in. So now they're allowed to go to either Germany, France, Romania, Ireland, Portugal, and even Luxembourg. Mind you, most of these migrants were actually from Sudan. There were 100, said to be like 100 children there, most of them unaccompanied. So, you know, that just lets you know the immigration situation out there is similar to over here, you know what I'm saying, at the U.S.-Mexico border. Green Wall and Graduation. Go to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure y'all sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video caption if you're watching on YouTube. Now, over in Bangladesh, they actually had Genocide Day this past Sunday, where it said that about 200,000 Rohingya Muslims took to the streets, marching through one of the world's largest refugee camps called Cox's Bazar, where as it said that as many as like 1 million Rohingya Muslims are actually living in Bangladesh after fleeing Burma. So 2 years ago, on this day, they were actually there was a huge military crackdown on Rohingya Muslims in Burma to basically get them out of there. It said that over 700,000 Rohingya Muslims actually fled. They burned down homes, land, they seized cattle, and all of that shit. So in this protest in Bangladesh on Sunday, they were demanding that Burma actually grant them citizenship and safety, and then they'll return there. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, man. Like, when you talk about war crimes, hate crimes, international crimes against humanity, they really might not give a fuck. We'll see what happens. Green Wall and Grad. The new world door to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Hey, Donald Trump is actually denying this report that put out by Axios that basically says that he's brought up several times the idea of using nuclear weapons to get rid of hurricanes. So he's even quoted and saying, like, you know, how, you know, the hurricanes start off of the coast of Africa, they go across the Atlantic, drop a nuclear bomb in the eye of the storm. Why can't you do that? Now, as ridiculous to some as this may sound, you know, this is like, you know, it's nothing wrong with being an inquiring mind. Like, let's be objective here for a second. And this idea actually goes back to the Eisenhower era, President Eisenhower, where scientists have already debunked this time and time again. Actually, even if you go on the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's tropical cyclone myths page, it's already there, debunked as an idea. But it's nothing wrong with having an inquiring mind. But, you know, knowing a crazed lunatic like Trump doesn't believe in climate scientists, why would he believe in these scientists, man? Everybody stay woke. Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. I'm just letting y'all know officially it's been decided that the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, they officially voted on a resolution to reject the idea of having a debate on just the climate crisis. So that's not going to happen. There's not going to be any debate where all they talk about has to do with the climate crisis, which to me seems like the prerequisite for everything else, right? Like, we got to exist, right? We got to be able to breathe. We got to be able to swim in these oceans. We got to have drinkable water, etc., etc. But you know, Green War and graduation. I'll let you know what time. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. This past Friday in Illinois, it's actually believed that we got the first casualty of vaping, a process of smoking that's actually believed to be a healthy alternative from smoking like cigarettes or smoking weed through cigar wraps. Now, this particular patient was said to, it's not known what the patient was actually vaping or what specific device was being used, but keep this in mind, as the Center for Disease Control and Prevention actually has identified almost 200 cases of respiratory illnesses in as many as 22 states around the country that are actually linked or possibly linked to vaping. And also keep in mind that in past weeks, there have been dozens of young people catching an unidentified lung disease. So stay woke, man, because everything is not what they say it is just because it's in a fucking commercial or just because they tell you that it's healthier. You know what I mean? Green War and graduation. Support of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Rest in pain, the David Cope. Now, this is he died at 79 of prostate cancer. Now, this dude is the co-owner of Koch Industries. Him and his brother Charles Koch, they actually inherited their fortune from their father and his oil and gas, ventures. He died as being worth $42 billion, partially owning a big chunks of like oil and gas pipelines. But Koch Industries also invested in a lot of other major U.S. companies, and they have pretty much dumped tons of money into this whole conservative radical right movement, and actually even created Americans for Prosperity, that political advocacy group back in 2004, but in general have pretty much sparked this whole right-wing revolution in creating almost like an assembly line to that type of radical thought, and creating think tanks, then advocacy groups, and then basically funding candidates and having them sign pledges in order to get money from like Americans for Prosperity in exchange for them agreeing not to do anything about like climate change or, you know, about shit like whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about like workers' rights, labor union shit, like, you know what I mean? Just somebody that's just completely against the people for all the wrong fucking reasons. So rotten in hell, motherfucker.